Hello everyone, this is Laco S, and welcome to DCS World. And in this video, we're going to go over the special options and control setup for the F-4E Phantom 2. So we're going to go ahead and start off here with the special menu options for the F4. And first off, we have radio menu and PTT behavior. And you can use this, you can adjust these menu options here to allow the in-game radio to interface with SRS a little bit better. So you can have it by default. You can open the menu with the radio menu key and then followed by a push talk to talk. That'll give SRS the simple standalone radio the priority, which is a third-party radio system. And you can hide the radio menu on the button release, or you don't have to use the default push to talk radio menu button right here. That you can just use those for SRS. So there is SRS behavior. Best bet is to try them all out and see which one makes the most sense for you. Next up, down below, we have stick deflection limited by maximum stick force, and this basically helps you to not over G or do anything crazy with the aircraft. Basically, it simulates how much what's the maximum amount of force that you can pull on the stick with your in-game character. So, because because a lot of sticks aren't force feedback, and even then, you could it still could be relatively easy to pull the stick all the way back without too much force. This simulates how much force that your in-game pilot can actually pull back on the stick, because the F-4E has hydraulics control surfaces. So if you moderate this value, it'll be a little bit easier. Your reaction time may be slightly delayed, but whenever the character is pulling high Gs, it'll be a little bit easier to moderate how much force you're actually pulling on the in-game aircraft. So don't put this all the way up to 100. You can easily start over-G'ing the aircraft and throwing the aircraft around. I like to keep it at 60. It gives you a good bit of control without making it. Well, makes it a little bit harder to over stress the aircraft and or pull too much AOA all at once. And then stick force blending, as the tooltip says right here. When maximum deflection would result in excessive force, stick deflection is scaled down to improve handling precision. I like to use this. I like to enable this just to make it a little bit easier for that higher, like the little bit more precision on the edge of the flight envelope. Sort of simulates the actual in-game character, modulating the force a little bit better, because there's in real life you would be able to feel like the forces on the aircraft a little bit better on the stick when you're actually doing the high AOA and maneuvers. So I like to enable this just so that it modulates it a little bit better and it gives it a little bit more precise maneuverability. Particularly because I don't have all really fancy HOTAS that would be able to help me fly super accurately at times. It's good, but it's not perfect. It could definitely be better. And then there's the AFSCS breakout dead zone. Basically, this is the dead zone around the stick, in addition to the normal dead zone for the AFCS to disengage. So if you need to quickly break out of AFCS, you take, which is basically the in-game, which is the aircraft's autopilot, snapping the stick to the left or right, or up or down, causes the Phantom to break out of its autopilot mode. And basically, this increases the dead zone, so you can still make small adjustments to the aircraft while it's in autopilot mode, but you won't be able to do anything too crazy with it. This is the afterburner detent. So depending on your throttle, you can set when the afterburner detent is on your throttle over here. And then you have the afterburner detent dead zone. Basically, if you push it up, in this case, I have it set at 70% for the afterburner detent. So there's a small window around this 70% for the detent, judged by this. So that if I basically push it up to 70, or past 70, it'll engage the afterburners, but then I have to drop it down to 60% throttle afterburner detent to drop the afterburner off. So we're going to go ahead and drop that down to 5. So we're going to get, that way it's a bit narrower of a detent, so it can, it's a little less dead zone, so that way the computer isn't constantly registering that the afterburner is on, off, but at the same time, it's a relatively small window that there's a dead zone, so you can easily like push it in and then all that stuff. So I just set it. I have to keep this relatively low, just because then that way it's a bit more snappier response, while still having a decent bit of dead zone. So let's see, disable multi-crew controls input by default when joining as a Wizzo. We're going to go ahead and do that. That way, when you join in as a Wizzo, you're not able to you're not able to mess up the pilot's controls as soon as you jump in. Now, you can actually, there's a keybind in the game that allows you to re-enable controls, but that way, errant or misread stick inputs by the PC don't throw off the pilot. And then Jester landing callouts, that basically is Jester calling out altitude and the lake for landing, so it's a little bit easier for you to land. And then down here are all the heat blur user interface options. So this is basically the Jester menu, and then you can go ahead and adjust resolution, offset, online access, the theme of it, all that kind of fun stuff. You play around with this to get get it to look as good as it can. And then you can also go down here and go to performance options. And then if you want to have your CPU be less strained by the Phantom, you can lower the simulation update rate, or you can go ahead and lower the UI refresh rate, or you can go to radar performance mode, and all those three things will lessen the load on your CPU. So those are options if you have a weaker CPU, or if you're trying to, if you're running a lot of applications and you need to start gaining some performance, you have those down there as options. Now the important thing is we're going to go over to F-4E controls. So we're going to go off by the one. I'm going to cover the ones that are important to make sure that you have bound. So AFCS autopilot toggle. This will toggle on and off the autopilot system. So that way, once you have it all set up and you're in the position to toggle, you can just have this bound, and that way you'll be able to use the autopilot systems. Air-to-air refueling, or air refueling AAR release button. This is an important button, not just for air-to-air refueling, but kind of also more importantly for your dogfight modes and your weapons. This basically is this is one of the buttons you press, I believe, for the sidewinders. So you want to make sure that that's enabled. Plus, I do believe this has basically the Phantom's ACM mode also uses this button, so make sure you have this bound for your weapon systems, in addition to air-to-air refueling. Going down. Bomb release button. That's a fairly obvious button. Always make sure you have that bound in every aircraft. The cage button. The cage button allows you to, like it says, perform the action to cage the various weapons on the Phantom. So you want to make sure you have that bound on your joystick as well. Let's see here. Going down here. Wind. Oh, yes, this is another important one. Dispense countermeasures. You want to make sure you have this bound, because this is not bound by default to dispense countermeasures. So make sure you have that. The drag parachute, you want to make sure you have a key bound to deploy it, but also to have the drag parachute in. And there's another one, which I'm not surprised is here. There's a drag parachute cut we will run into later. Basically, when you deploy the drag parachute. You also then have to go put the drag parachute in. You have to cut and then go in to actually get rid of the drag parachute. Let's see here. Recon mode, cockpit view. First person pilot body toggle. I'll toggle that on and off. Flaps. Down, next step down and step up. This basically takes your flaps and either puts them down or brings them up. So I have that bound on my joystick. And then going down here, you definitely want to have your gun, missile, pinky switch, gun, heat, and radar, and reject all bound. These are you're going to definitely use these for your missile engagements and your just also air-to-air engagements. They serve various functions, both in selecting the weapon you want, as well as in the ACM mode. It'll allow you to switch the ACM from a center scan to a left or right scan. So make sure you have these bound. Also make sure you have rechecked bound. That comes in handy for various weapons as well. Let's see here. There are a lot of keybinds to keybind everything in the Phantom. That is the one good thing about it, but it does make going through all of them pretty massive. So it is kind of annoying that way. But otherwise, we have landing gear keys. Make sure those are bound, although by default they should be. Your engine igniters. Microphone switch if you want to use you can use the microphone switch for ICS right here, which you can keybind that. You can also bind the microphone switch for SRS VoIP only, or microphone switch for SRS VoIP only for the UHF. So you can bound two different microphone switches for the intercom system and the when you're talking out to the general public. So basically broadcasting on the radio. Then we also have down here nose wheel gear steering. Make sure you bind that to your joystick. Nose wheel gear steering and auto acquisition button. The auto acquisition button is going to be what sets up the automatic, basically the ACM mode for the Phantom. So you make sure you have that bound. Going all the way down. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not passing anything up. Oh, release drag parachute. That's what I was talking about earlier with the drag chute. You want to have the ability to also release the drag chute, so you're not dragging it around everywhere on the ground when you exit the runway. Oh, this is a very good one. Seat position down and up. You want to make sure you have seat position bound to up and down. Especially when you come in for landing, you want to make sure you have the ability to adjust your seat position so you can see over the Phantom's nose. Makes it a little bit easier to land when you're sitting up a little bit higher. And of course, speed brake in and out. I have those bound because it's kind of important. You can also make sure you bind your sunglasses so you can toggle those on and off. Make sure you got to get your trigger bound as well so you can fire off your air-to-air weapons and guns. Trim, make sure you have trim bound. That is a definite thing that the Phantom lives and dies off of, is trim. So definitely have those bound. And so we've reached the end. Wheel brakes. Make sure you have the wheel brakes bound up here. Do keep in mind it's not the usual W key, because the Phantom has a bit more of a different control scheme with how things are laid out around the A key. So make sure that the D key, either it's D key for you, or make sure you have it bound to either a control surface or something to make sure you know what you're binding for your wheel brakes. Because it's not going to be a standard W key like in most aircraft. And that's it for the controls and the controls that you need to bind for the Phantom, as well as its special tab, all the special things in there. Hope you found this video useful for all the important binds, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.